Survivor's ready!
Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they wouldn't ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Noah Grove. Hello, people and puffins, and welcome to The Amazing Race Oz, Australia's only Amazing Race podcast that we know about anyway. We are back for another episode. Believe it or not, we've actually got an episode a week after within a week of the new episode airing, so it's crazy. We're breaking new grounds here at The Amazing Race Oz. I was about to say 007, I don't know what that show is.
But feel free to Google it if you're curious.
Yeah, Google 007, whatever it is. I think Natural Born Lady Hustler hosts it or something like that. I am Noah. Believe it or not, I'm actually here. I disappeared for a few weeks. I was filming The Amazing Race or something like that. But speaking of me not being here and people hosting, Colin, welcome to The Amazing Race Oz.
Thank you for giving me a break for at least 1 week this whole season.
Yeah, you were so good in Amazing Race Canada that I just had to leave and let you take over for the most of this season, so well done. Alec, welcome back also.
I know, it's been a couple of weeks. And now that Noah's back, I can be angry again, you know.
Yeah, still don't get that joke. And last, but will he be least, I'm going to bank on, probably not least, Jordan, welcome back.
Well, somebody has to be least. I don't know.
I'll take the least spot.
All right.
I volunteer.
You're Jared for the day.
I'm so mad that the cheerleaders are gone. Man, they grew on me so. They grew on me so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they grew on me so much as well. Let's just talk about them straight away, because they're the one team not going through the finals. Kind of jumping the order right here, starting at the very end. That's what happens when you miss 3 weeks of hosting. You get a bit confused. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I think, maybe. I don't think I've done an episode since Africa or something. The cheerleaders. What are their names? I just know them as the
Tiffany
cheerleaders.
and Krista.
Tiffany and Krista, that's
wow,
it.
I'm good job hosting.
Well, it's just an Amazing Race. They just call them by their jobs or their colour. Well, the colour of the clothes they're wearing. I am with Jordan. They grew on me a lot, but they're gone now. Thank God Amazing Race has ditched the stupid Final Four twist. No one liked that, and they did it 2 seasons in a row. That being said, I'm kind of disappointed that the cheerleaders are gone, because I think by the end they were probably the most entertaining team there, and they talked about don't underestimate us, but then they did excel throughout it. They managed to get a team of guys to give up their spot in the race for them. I thought they were super entertaining, and I think if the show has another all-star season before the show gets cancelled, let's be honest, I think that I think they're locks to be back on the show. I think because the all-star seasons, they need at least one of the girly girl teams, and I think they're going to be the new all-star girly girl team, and I really enjoyed them. Devastated they didn't make it at the finals. Not that they would have ever won, probably, because I don't think they've ever won a leg, but they were still great. So Colin, just eulogise Tiffany and Krista, the cheerleaders, and also talk about the Final Four twist as well, if you want.
Well, I was really sad too, which is surprising because if you go back and listen to the first couple episodes of the season, I was definitely not on board with the cheerleaders, and surprisingly enough, nothing really changed about them. I mean, there are still negative aspects to them and their personalities, and we saw it this week when Justin, was trying to, once they passed the roadblock or whatever, Justin's like, it's okay, you'll get through it. And it's like, yeah, you're encouraging us now that you're leaving. Like, it was a bit of poor sportsmanship, but yet at the same time, those things annoyed me at the beginning of the season, and now I'm like, it makes them great. They're kind of, a flawed team. Some of the mistakes they make and some of the, not so flattering things about their personalities are kind of endearing, and they're not only the most entertaining team that was left. I mean, as much as I actually do like at least two of the teams that are in the finals, they were the only ones, the cheerleaders were the only ones I really felt I was rooting for at this point. So I'm really sad they're gone, because it makes me a little bit less interested in the finale, especially since we're basically, 1 week off, but we've pretty much been set up that this is just a one-team race here. But as far as the final three things, it's nice to have it back. I think it is a lot more exciting than the final four, especially knowing somebody's not going to be eliminated seconds in. The biggest question I have is whether the teams knew going in, because Justin actually had a comment in the middle of the episode talking about the final three. Whereas he's such a super fan, he must have seen the previous seasons, and I would guess he'd probably be questioning whether they were having a final four at that point. So I don't know if it was clear to the teams going in there was going to be a final three or not, but I was almost wondering at the end of last week's episode with this way it was promoted that if there was going to be a final four again, because of how devastated everybody looked in the preview.
I think this is the one time in the Amazing Race where the preview didn't really just lie or hype up something that wasn't true, because it really was a tragedy for one of the teams. We didn't get our general feelings, but I think we can all agree that this is one of the better ones of the season, right?
Oh, yeah. Hands down.
Yeah. Jordan, I know you brought it up at the beginning of the episode. Tiffany and Krista, I do know their names. Great team, and no Final Four for once in 2 seasons.
Yeah, even though they were cheerleaders for the Jets, who beat my Giants the other day. No, they really grew on me. I rewatched the premiere earlier today, and they spent all that time on the sidewalk puzzle, and and Krista was saying, "Oh, I've never failed at anything," which can't possibly be true, but going from spending however much time on the puzzle to this 4th place finish is a really good, I guess it is a surprise, but it's not. It's a real pleasure to see them all the way make it to 4th place, and just one less attempt on the roadblock, and they're in the final 3.
Yeah, they're definitely the Mike and Rochelle of this season, just the comeback kids. Which, again, I was happy they went through the final, but I'd rather there not be a Final Four twist, even though I do like Tiffany and Krista. What about you, Alan?
So I will agree that the cheerleaders grew on me. I think this is probably, at least for the most part, other than probably outside of Logan and Chris, is probably the most likable Final Four we've had in years. Like seasons, like even some like season 25s.
Well, it's up from last season, that's for sure.
Yeah. But the thing is, I still didn't love the cheerleaders. Like, I loved Krista. Krista was by far the better one of the two. But it's just but whenever Tiffany was just talking on her own, it was always like upset and down and stuff like that. And Chris, they were complete opposites. And it was just they still, even when they were in the Final 5 or whatever, they were talking about how everybody else underestimates us, and they thought they were going to get U-turned because for no reason at all and stuff like that. It's just because people underestimate them and stuff. It's just their story never really changed there. They did grow on me. I loved them more than I did back in the whole episode when me and Colin and Kristen are laying into them. But yeah, I definitely agree they're a lock for an all-star season. They are definitely one of the, I would probably say outside of Justin and Diana, they are probably the most memorable team of the season, and they are a likable team. I'm not saying I love them, but I did like them, and so a little difference of opinion from the others, but I did like them. I'm not saying I hate them, nothing like that.
My favourite Tiffany and Krista moment is them U-turning the green team, even though they were last.
Yeah,
that's a standout moment for me.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't need that.
And then they lie about it. That was the best part.
That was great.
Rapping in France, that was pretty funny too.
Yeah, they own that rap challenge.
There is I haven't seen it yet, but I did see online today that there's a deleted scene where they're talking about being Bond girls, which would be great if we talked about that, either this or Double Oz 7, which is another great podcast.
Google it. Yeah, they could be Bond girls. They could be Bond girls. They could have two main Bond girls. That would be good. Don't underestimate them. Let's talk about some of... Well, that was interesting. The most memorable Final Four. Is that what someone said? Most likable Final Four?
I think said likable, yeah.
I would argue season 25 was better. I think that... Because you had the dentists and you had Bebe, Bethany and Bethany's partner, Adam. And you also had the wrestlers, one of the funniest and best teams in recent times, and then you had the scientists, which let's not mention.
Least memorable. So
yeah, the scientists.
Which that's the reason why I said, like, at least everybody in this Final Four, some people might like. Like, my family hates Logan and Chris, but outside of Logan and Chris, probably the best.
I would say it's an up from the last season, and it's an up from the All-Stars, but I think season 25 pretty much in all ways beats any recent season, but that's just my opinion. I miss the days of that season. Anyway.
Go watch it again.
Yeah, I might have to. That was some of the most fun we've ever had with The Amazing Race. But moving on, let's not dwell on the past. So let's talk about the race a bit. Second last week, they went from India to Hong Kong, which I think they've been to Hong Kong a fair bit recently, but it's a pretty good location, so I've got no problems with it. They got escorted in a Rolls Royce, which is pretty fun. And then they had the detour, which was Sam's or Cell's, and we meet Sam, who's like a master tailor or something like that, who makes suits in, 24 hours or something. He's pretty skilled, old Sam. So they had to cut out some fabric, I guess, for Sam to use. And in Cells, the teams had to travel to a marked store on Aplu Street and search through boxes of used cell phones to find the one that turns on. Thrilling, isn't it? Then they would call up the phone.
I feel bad for the guy who had to remove all the batteries from the bad cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just the intern. He's used to it.
I think his name is Jared Lewis,
and then
on these shows.
Yeah. Poor Jared. And they had to get that from the phone. They got their clue to the next location. Let's not dwell on this too much, but do we have anything to add on these detours, Jordan? I didn't think they were that thrilling.
Yeah. What was it? The cutting of the clothes? That was probably
and Cells.
Yeah, that was probably the clothes was Sam's was probably the less frustrating of the two overall. I'm surprised, as you know, Justin and Diana, they're fans of the race. They went to the one that could take forever compared to the one that, if you do it right, is over, as quick as you can do it, so who got it done the fastest? Was it the cheerleaders?
Cheerleaders, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't underestimate them.
I think, was it you, Colin, who said, they make a remark about, like, we're going to be good at this because we're cheerleaders or we're dancers.
All saying that.
Yeah, and they said they were confident going into this one because they make costumes or whatever. And they struggled at first. They got it, and then I think it was Chris who mentioned that it was really hot in there, which I can really sympathize with, but I would still definitely do that one over the cell phone.
No offense to Chris, but has anybody noticed that he basically sweats like a pig no matter where he is? Like, that's one sweaty man.
Oh, I do too.
I do too.
Yeah, I would probably be like that. That's Sam.
But,
He's very intimidating.
Yeah. So it was
Um,
the cheerleaders, and then Kelsey and Joey went out, or Logan
Yeah.
and Chris before them?
Logan and Chris were last.
Because Kelsey
Okay.
and Joey were actually pointing out the cheerleaders, like, look at them, they're doing it wrong, and they don't even realize it. And then in the end, the cheerleaders beat them, and Kelsey and Joey make a big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
In
And then
fairness to
Logan and Chris.
Krista and Christy, Krista and
Tiffany.
Michelle, what's her name?
Tiffany, Michelle, and Christy.
They did kind of talk up that swimming one would be something to do with dance, but really it was diving off a thing and swimming around in the water. So you can't really blame them too much for that. But Alex, what did you think of old Sam and his cell phone?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with Jordan about it's surprising that Justin and Diana would choose the one, because me being a fan of the race, I have learned when it comes to the Amazing Race, never choose a task. Like if you have a choice of the task, never choose the one that is by chance, whereas the one compared to skill, and Justin and Diana chose the one by chance. Lucky enough, they found it pretty quickly, except couldn't find the freaking location that was right around the corner from them very quickly, which my dad pointed this out in Hong Kong, which is a country that was owned by Britain until like 50 years ago. They get the one taxi driver that probably doesn't know English, which they thought was interesting. But
Well,
yeah.
for more on Hong Kong and its rulings, listen to 007.
Google it.
It's some show, I've never heard of it, but I heard they talk about Hong Kong.
But yeah, it's just like the suit, the Sam's was by far the better choice because it was based 100% on skill, even though people were making simple mistakes like not doubling it over, and Chris wasn't listening to Logan once again, which is why we love them and stuff. And so yeah, the challenges weren't that great, at least the detour challenges weren't that great this time, but you know, that's the theme of the season.
I do agree with you that it's probably better to do skill over chance, but I also don't blame people who do pick chance, because again, it's chance, and chance may dictate that you get out there straight away and you win the race by a mile. But I probably agree that it's probably better to do skill unless you really suck at whatever the challenge is. But Colin, detours.
Yeah, these would have been really boring if there wasn't a shake-up. And, I mean, overall, it's been hard for me to judge this season because every week I'm finding the episodes to be, like, great television. I mean, huge improvement over a lot of the past seasons, but just...
Especially last season.
Yeah, especially last season. But seeing the exact same teams finish in 1, 2, and 3 pretty much every single week, and no shakeups at all. I mean, all of our drama has been just about the ones at the bottom, and it was nice to see that there was a shakeup at the top. With Justin and Diana, the navigation thing totally screwed them, which is great to see because it's the little details that you can't plan for. And if this season, and I have no problem with Justin and Diana, I mean, I think they're one of the most entertaining teams we've seen in a long time, but when all you're seeing is one team win all the time, it's not exciting to watch. So that was great. And if anybody is looking for a cheap cell phone in Hong Kong, now you know it's right around the corner from Quayland Street, which was exactly where they were standing, where they're like, we got to go to Quayland Street. But I love Justin, definitely. For those who don't like Justin, he probably wasn't doing himself any favors this week when he basically, Diana was telling him not to be rude to the cab driver. He says it's only rude if they understand what you're saying. Maybe not the most PC thing he could have said. But
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, it was
That's
a great
funny.
moment. But even the Sam's challenge, I mean, the fact that people were struggling with it, like I said, Kelsey and Joey were kind of not really making fun, but being like pointing out the cheerleaders. Look at them, they're making a mistake, and then they end up making a bigger mistake. There was some good shakeups on there. If it had just been predictable results like the last couple weeks, this probably would have been a low point of the season.
I feel like this season would have played better on a binge watch. I'm not sure how it's been playing week to week. while something like 25, there's always something I keep bringing up. Give it up, Noah. I had something interesting week to week. This season, it's not like it's bad, but excuse the wind also if you can hear that. But I think it plays better on a binge watch, maybe. Wow, it's really windy. All right, let's talk about the second challenge. We will go into Justin and Diana's arc for this episode, but we may talk about that more in depth after the challenge. But we had this challenge where the teams had to go to the dancing, well, they had to catch a ferry to Macau, which we'll get to later. They had to go to the dancing water theatre and perform in the House of Dancing Water, something to do with pirates or something like that. Which the challenge itself, despite being big and grandiose, wasn't that exciting. What made it exciting is all the drama that happened regarding the finishing positions, pretty much. Who got there first, who was getting it, the teams on the sideline, and would Justin and Diana show up, would Michelle get it done in time, all that kind of stuff. So,
Did you say Michelle again?
yeah, it was a joke. I was seeing if anyone would pick up on it, which you did.
Good joke, then.
It's called subtle humour.
From comedic genius.
Or shit humour, something like that. For more on comedic genius, go to double.
Double R7.
Yeah, all these in-jokes that no one gets. Let's just talk about this damn challenge. I thought it was
Go to the
very
dungeon
exciting.
and talk about.
Yeah, it was hands down one of the more exciting challenges of the season, just based on all the drama that happened. The challenge itself wasn't horrible, but it was really just picking up a fish, and getting in makeup and all that. But really enjoyable and exciting second half to this episode, Colin.
And again, for more on Macau, we're a couple episodes away from Double Oz 7 talking about its location in Skyfall.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, this hour-long commercial for Double Oz 7 was brought to you by The Amazing Race. This
By Survivor.
challenge...
By Euros Vision.
Boggy supports The Amazing Race Oz.
Okay.
But, yeah, this challenge, I agree, it's so simple, but it's the spectacle of it. The fact that they had to get in this really, great-looking makeup and wardrobe, and they had to dive off this platform, and you've got all this stuff going on around you, these acrobatic divings, and the music alone. I mean, The Amazing Race, bar none, the best soundtrack you'll hear on any TV show. I mean, it blows Survivor away for the music we hear week to week, but they didn't even need one this week, because the music that was playing along with this this show or whatever it is was exactly what the show needed. And as if this challenge wasn't dramatic enough with Krista and Michelle struggling one after the other, one dive after the other. The music just made it so much better. I mean, I was just dying with anticipation in this, and yeah, I want to see this show in person.
Yeah, you're going to go to the House of Dancing Water Canadian tour?
Yeah, hopefully they got some Komodo dragons in there, and
let's read a bit about the House of Dancing Water. It's a water-based stage production, which I thought that was cool. Like, I would watch like a pirate thing going on with water in the stage. It is. Do we want to read about? Let's not read about this. It originated in China, Hong Kong. The cast is, well, it's made up of actors, clowns, females, and a group from Tanzania.
Wait, not Tasmania?
Yeah, a group from Tasmania. Here's the soundtrack. Dancing Water, that was the opening theme throughout the show. That could have been what you were talking about,
Nice.
Colin. So you might be able to look up the... there's a soundtrack album. There you go, Colin. Jamie for Christmas. House of Dancing Water soundtrack, maybe, perhaps. You can let Jamie know that. Alec, the House of Dancing Water and makeup and swimming for fishies.
So, I gotta say, this is kind of what the Amazing Race has been for years. It has been simple challenges that have great moments. And, for example, if you haven't seen these moments, you just have to go look at a few older seasons, like the Globetrotters' first season, when they like they had the challenge that was super simple. They just had all these letters, and they just had to like figure out like what order they went in. It was like such a simple challenge, but it made for a great moment because they couldn't do it or whatever. There's like Keisha and Jen when they weren't able to swim and stuff like that. Like there's
Or when they had to go to the toilet.
yeah, it's just like, or then there's Mel and Mike when they had to like be treated for hypothermia, even though it was such a simple challenge. They had to like dig through the mud just to find a frog or whatever. It's like Amazing Race has simple challenges, but how they get executed is what makes it. And I feel that's probably part of the reason why this season has kind of been like a little bit more downhill, and like seasons tend to have like ups and downs and stuff. It's because there haven't been as many of these moments because people come in more prepared for these types of things. But like this was just a simple challenge because all Krista really had to do basically was jump off a pirate ship and swim down probably about 3 feet to grab a fish. And it was like, but it was so hard for her, and that's what made it into a great moment.
It was the bubbles, damn it, the bubble.
And so it's just like that's so I really liked it. Like the challenge itself wasn't the greatest, although visually it was amazing, and like Colin said, sound like hero ability, it was amazing. But the moment itself is what made it a great challenge more than just simple challenge that the drama added to it. It was the moment more than anything. So,
What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like, this is when the show started for the first time with all three of the Logan and Michelle, Krista, and
Logan and Michelle.
yeah, and Kelsey of the
Justin and Michelle.
Kelsey and Joey.
Michelle and Justin.
When that show started, the first one, like I'm thinking in my head, this is a task that you remember a season of The Amazing Race by, because it was that spectacular looking for such a simple task. And and it would have been even like it was made even more memorable because one of them kept failing at it, and it had to be agonizing for the other team seeing that when they're at the mat and they see Justin and Diana come in while Krista was in their group. And like you said, just a simple task of diving 10 feet or so underwater to get a goldfish or, a toy fish or whatever it was, turned into a really memorable task. And especially because, Krista couldn't do it.
What made this even more greater was this is the second last episode, and unless there's a final four twist, there's so much riding on this.
If the only way it could have been made better is if it were in the finale, and maybe not, because with three teams in it, it's probably less dramatic. But it was really a great task, I thought.
That's what they need to do in the finale, a really hard task. I feel like finales are always so rushed. Make them do something that takes like 10 hours or something.
Right.
I can tell why they don't do it, in case one team gets stuck there forever and the other just goes off and wins. But
you don't want the finish line to be in the dark or something.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know, make them work for it. But that made it twice as good because of how much was riding on it, even though we didn't know if it would be a Final Four or not. So, of course, a big part of what made so great and a big story is Justin and Diana screwing up for probably the best part of the first time in the season. You could probably find some moments where they weren't the best, but for a team that's dominated, it just all crumbled at this kind of end where they took the wrong ferry and ended up getting a penalty. And not only that, but they were late, and they must have been pretty far behind because Phil later said that the ferry was 25 minutes quicker or something like that, and they were still last to get in there, so they must have been really far behind.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
And if they didn't catch that ferry, I would say that there's a good chance they wouldn't be here right now. Without Diana being there as well looking for the fish, maybe there would have been less stress on Krista. Or was it Krista or was it Michelle?
It was Krista.
Or Michelle.
Are we switching to Michelle here? Like,
I don't. So without that pressure, I reckon she probably could have got it done. So in a weird kind of roundabout way, doing the wrong thing may have actually helped them stay in the season, but we'll never know. Great drama for a final episode, as I keep saying. So much was relying on not screwing up in the final or second last episode, and it just all fell apart for the most dominant team ever. And then at the end, they got the double penalty or whatever it was, and it was just like, oh shit, maybe Justin and Diana are about to go out fourth. I kind of had an inkling that the cheerleaders would go, because most of the time when you see them waiting at the mat, they actually do get to keep going and the other team doesn't show up majority of the time. But I thought for a second, geez, that would be like the biggest upset of the season if this team, which I'll just say I'm glad Justin and Diana are gone through, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm glad they're there, and I'm happy, and I hope they win. But that would have maybe upped this season bigger stakes and really made it a more notable season if the most dominant team in the season went out fourth. Like, that would be pretty crazy. So what was your take on all of this, Alec? I thought it was really made the episode quite exciting, especially because of how dominant Justin and Michelle have been.
Yeah, another season where like this happened, where like the most dominant team goes out in fourth, is season 19. If you haven't seen it, the snowboarders like went out in fourth place. It was like the most.
That's another one, but I feel like this is like that, but on crack almost.
Oh yeah, like if Justin and Diana would have went home, yeah, it would have been like, because Justin and Diana haven't finished out of the top two since the very first leg, and so yeah, it would have been even a bigger shock. But the whole thing, like, yeah, Justin and Diana screwed up big by number one getting in that taxi. Can I also point out how odd it was that they had the top two teams standing on the mat for at least over 55 minutes?
Yeah.
Because they were there when Justin and Diana showed up, and they were still there when Justin and Diana checked back in. So they were there for at least 55 minutes. So, like, I'm assuming it was probably they were there for maybe 20, and like there was the 20-minute gap between shows, so they were probably there for at least 20 minutes before Justin and Diana showed up. And so, like, they just had them just standing out there in the sun for like ever, it seemed. But which I thought was very interesting that they had that. But as far as Justin and Diana, like the whole thing, it added more drama to it, because like, you know, the whole episode's just like, oh, the green team's in last place, we actually have a chance to get rid of them. And then like they show up, and this is like with 15 minutes left in the whole episode, Justin and Diana like show up, and you're like, oh dang, something's going to go down. Like, the fact that there's 15 minutes left, they're not going to have like the final three talk for 15 minutes about why they're going to win. That's like a 2-minute blurb at the end. And so it's just like what did they do? Like, is they going to forget their passports, or like what the crap happened? It's just like they hinted at the fairy thing earlier, and so you kind of could tell that it was going to be something like that, because they show everybody else going to the Hong Kong one and them going to the Kauru one or whatever it was. And it's just like, and so like it added so much drama to it. And like then when they're waiting out their penalty, like Justin's doing the calculations, okay, they have to like miss their 5th try and we're still in the race. And it's just like, and then the cheerleaders get it on their 5th try. So according to Justin's calculations, the cheerleaders still had a very good shot to beat them. And then the cheerleaders end up taking the wrong taxi, or like a taxi that takes them to the wrong place, and that ends up being what the downfall is. And from what it looked like, it was only mere minutes, like, that between it. Like, it was probably Justin and Diana, like Phil even said, Justin and Diana just barely checked back in or whatever. Like, like the fact that everything ended up how it was, like, oh, the cheerleaders have to fail at least 5 times for us to like 100% be in, and they get it on the 5th one, so they still, according to Justin's calculations, could stay in. Just added so much more drama to it, and made it like the probably best like finish, I would say, to an episode we've had this season for sure. So
I think there was some very shady Amazing Race editing going on in this last hour or so of how this all played out. But yeah, I don't like to be a skeptical on shows like this. Like, oh, Survivor's fake, Amazing Race is fake, but I don't know about the whole getting in a wrong taxi thing. That seemed a bit shady, but again, I don't want to say that Amazing Race is rigged or anything like that. But if there's one team that I could see the producers wanting to do their very best to keep in the show, it would be Justin and Diana. So, I don't know. The whole thing seemed a bit off. Yeah, I don't know. But again, yeah, there was a lot of emphasis on this is the whatever side, and teams must go on the Hong Kong side or Macau side or whatever they were saying. But
the fact that it was a 55-minute penalty too probably added to it. Like normally when they make a mistake or you didn't read your clue, like Denise and James early in this season when she helped him on the roadblock, oh, you get a 30-minute penalty. That's what we know as like fans. It's the 30-minute penalty. It hasn't been since like season like 6 or 7 or whatever that they added on the time gained or whatever. And so it was like the fact that it was not just the 30-minute penalty for taking the wrong ferry, but you also gained 25 minutes, so it's a 55-minute penalty. We haven't seen that type of penalty since in like a long time. So like I think that's what made it even better. It's just the added on penalty.
What did you make of it, Colin?
I wouldn't say that there's clever editing, only because you could tell there's a difference in how Phil was presenting this. You know, like you said, normally you know what happens with these penalties, and it's pretty clear that the producers must know how far behind somebody is. You know, we have all these things with Justin saying this is how long it's going to take, and everything matches up. But when Phil delivered this, it was almost like he was caught off guard a little bit. Like at the last minute, even the producers realized, you know what, they already have a penalty, and we have to give them another penalty because they have to come up with on the spot. Okay, well, how much time does this thing save them? So they basically had to invent this whole, you know, another 25 minutes for a penalty or whatever. So I think just based on how flustered Phil almost seemed, I would lean towards this being something that was almost unprecedented that they didn't even expect in production. And that's really what added to it for me, was just Phil being like, you know, also you made this mistake, and because it's 25 minutes quicker, you have this penalty. Like, we don't even usually get explanations as to how long penalties are. I can think of really only one time where a result was as tight as this, where there was as much suspense going in. It was one of the episodes of Amazing Race Canada this past season. Outside of that, I mean, if we're looking just on the American show, I don't know if there's ever been, you know, a final 5 minutes that were this tense. And it was just because of how everything was playing together. It was how Justin and Diana's reactions were waiting. It was them working out the math in their head. It was Tiffany and Krista getting lost again after making it on time. Like, everything was just building on this. This was one of the best final 5 minutes I've seen on the Amazing Race ever. And I think...
Yeah, apart from season 25.
Yeah, apart from season 25, which along those lines, like, I think everybody was pretty much mentioning, you know, what would have happened if Justin and Diana had gone. And I think the only way that it really works with them going, and I agree with you, Noah, that, or it might have been somebody else who said that, like, if they went now, that would make this, like, a really epic finale. I think it would hurt the finale for Justin and Diana to go just because we have been told this is a one-team race. But had they gone last week, like, what I was thinking with this is almost like when the cyclists went in season 25. You know, they were just this one dominant team, and then all of a sudden they go out of nowhere. If they had gone at 4th place, which, well, it wouldn't have mattered at 4th, but let's just say they go at 4th place, I think it's almost heartbreaking. They go at 5th, it makes the other team stronger. So I think Justin and Diana being in the finals is the only way for this show to actually have a credible finale at this point, because they haven't really shown strengths from the other teams. Kelsey and Joey, they're, you know, perpetually in the 2nd place, but I don't think we've really seen them profiled as that strong a team, because we've seen them profiled as always on the losing end.
Yeah, we'll get to the final 3 teams shortly, but I agree, maybe it wouldn't be quite as exciting finale, but I do think it would have made the season stand out a bit more. Jordan, what were your thoughts on the potential end of Justin and Diana?
I would have liked to see them eliminated just so we can see the cheerleaders in the finale. No. I have grown to dislike Justin, and him agonizing over that penalty was really satisfying, I think, to people who are disliking him, like me. And I guess it makes up for the fact that they really got, I guess, lucky in the cell phone finding. And I guess they also got lucky in that Krista was taking so many times to try the diving task, and yeah, it was a very good ending, just from a story standpoint, and like it was probably the most dramatic time penalty I've ever seen in the race. Like, not even marked for elimination 30-minute penalty I've seen has been more dramatic than that. And yeah, just for the overall story, it was great just to see, are Justin and Diana going to make the finale, or are they going to get upset by a team that nobody thought would come this far, like the best team in the race, or a team that probably should have gone out first or second. Everybody said they would, the cheerleaders, and
don't underestimate them.
I know. That's why it was so thrilling. And yeah, from a story standpoint, this was a great penalty, and waiting out of it. And I heard the cheerleaders just got a bad taxi driver, and that's why they lost. So yeah.
All right, let's set up the finale. 3 teams left. We haven't really talked too much about these teams. We've got to wrap it up, but there's Logan and Chris. There's reporters, Joey and Michelle, and there is Justin and Diana. So, not a huge surprise for this final 3. Maybe I didn't see Logan and Chris here to go all the way, but then the second half of the game they've kind of heated up a bit. Justin and Diana, no surprise. Joey and Michelle, no surprise. I think we kind of guessed that in week 2 or 3 that they could make it. So yeah, Logan and Chris the only maybe a little bit of a surprise, but not really though. If Tiffany and Michelle got in, it would have been a bit more of a surprise. But strong teams going, racing, so it's going to be a competitive race towards the end. I feel like it's Justin and Diana's game to lose, but they really probably could lose it. Which, like, I could see a season 25 happening where the teams to win do fall through in the final episode, and I don't know, Joey and
See, I'm not the only one, Kristen.
Joey and Kelsey could
You're making
fall
Kristen
through.
turn over with a migraine. Okay,
Yeah.
in the
So
dungeon.
I hope that Justin and Diana win, even though it's an obvious thing. It will be like season 20, super obvious, but they've been so competitive. They love the race. I don't think they're actually as much of the douchebags as they're set up to be. I think other than teams bitching about them, we haven't seen too many things that have been too off-putting about them. They've been entertaining. They've made the race fun to watch. So I hope they win. If they do win, they go down as some of the strongest winners. If they don't win, they're a lock for the next All-Star season if the show isn't cancelled after Amazing Race YouTubers. So I think, again, if they win, they're not coming back because they never would bring back winners except for one time. So I don't see Logan and Chris winning just based on edit and just based on them as players, even though I think they have won a leg before.
We just
but-
won this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, that one. I would not be surprised if Joey and Josephine end up winning the season. They scream, and this is nothing against them, they seem like great people, but they scream boring Amazing Race winners. So many winners in the past are the boring young male-female couple
Kristen's turning over in the dungeon.
yeah, they're just that couple who then there's nothing wrong with them, but they're just not the biggest characters, and they just play and they're competitive and they get to the end and win. Like, we've seen it so many times in Amazing Race history. So if they win, I'm not going to be surprised. So just a quick wrap up, shorter than what I just did then. Let's talk about the finale, the final three teams. We've got to keep it snappy. And I also want to know what your prediction of the finishing spots will be and what you want the finishing spots to be. And I will just quickly say before I hand the torch over, I think the finishing position will be Justin and Diana, Joey and Michelle, and Logan and Chris. But I would not be surprised if you switch Justin and Diana around with Logan and Joey. And I hope that it is Justin and Diana, Logan and Chris second, and Joey and Kelsey third. But overall, I think it's going to be a fun finale, and it's three strong teams. Go, Colin. Let's finish this up.
I agree. It's going to be Justin and Diana, Kelsey and Joey. See, I have an easier time remembering the names than you do. I'm not the worst one here. And then Logan and Chris. But I think that's mostly just because of the setup we've had about them chasing this record, and we even had it mentioned at the end of the last episode. As much as I do like Justin and Diana, I think this season ends more dramatically with them losing. And I agree with you that they're a better lock for an all-star season by losing. So I'm kind of hoping they don't win, but I'm not going to complain if they do, because they have been hard racers.
And what is did you say what your preference would be?
If I had my preference, I'd say Logan and Chris, just because it'd be a hilarious end to the season. You know? The Purple Scientist was like hilarious as in, wow, that's hilarious, let's hope it never happens again. Logan and Chris is hilarious as in, what a outrageous way for this season to end.
We didn't talk much about them, but they have been a pretty entertaining team this season. It was quite funny seeing Logan dominate Chris. It's been quite fun. But, yeah, we didn't dwell on them, but I'm glad they're in the final. They've been entertaining. Jordan, wrap up, set up the finale, how you think it will go, and what you think or what you want to happen.
I think an interesting stat is there were three teams in the race coming in that were either engaged or dating, and all three of them are in the finals. And
don't give them ideas to bring back up.
I know, but whatever. It's interesting anyway. So, yeah, I thought Logan and Chris, once Tanner and Josh were eliminated, I thought this team could be a dark horse to win. Before, like, I had a feeling that Justin and Diana were going to go out before the finale, and therefore they'd be the second most likely team to win. But I think they're third out of three right now. I think Kelsey and Joey will be the winners, and I think Justin and Diana will be second, and Logan and Chris third, and that's the order I want to see. Maybe that's why I'm predicting it. And also, Long Island will be the site of the finale, so I'm really pumped for that, being from Long Island.
You might be in the finale.
You lost the New York Islanders, but you gained the Amazing Race finale.
Is this the first time they've gone to Long Island in the Amazing Race?
I don't remember them going there.
They've been to New York.
Yeah, they started, I think, 25 there.
Yeah,
25. Woo!
Yeah.
Well, 25, I think, was that Manhattan or something?
That was at Times Square, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they showed a boat in the preview clip, and it said Shinnecock on it, and that's a town out east by Montauk, and so yeah, it's probably like around the Hamptons or whatever, and and they showed horses, so maybe Belmont Park where they have the Belmont Stakes. I'm going way too off on a tangent on Long Island geography, so
The
I'm going
history
to
of
turn it
Long
over.
Island.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to whoever wants to go next, I guess.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye out for you in the finale, and if not, we'll still see horses and shenanigans or whatever. Alec, bring this to a close in terms of the finale.
So, I feel the order that it's going to be, Kelsey and Joey are going to be first because there have been more talks about them finally cracking and getting a first place finish than there have been about Justin and Diana breaking the record. And there's been lots of talks about Kelsey and Joey being like eventually overcoming Justin and Diana. And then not only that, Justin and Diana say Kelsey and Joey are the bigger threats of the final three. Second place, I'm going to say Justin and Diana. And third place, Logan and Chris, because they mentioned Logan and Chris blowing up on each other, which I believe will happen because it's happened every single episode ever since If We Can Follow Jack Attack. So that's the order that I believe will happen. It's the order that I think will happen and I want to happen. And so...
In other words, what Alec wants, he gets.
I know Kristen will probably totally agree with that order too. Like I predicted Kelsey and Joey to win ever since like they actually started coming from like the back of the pack. So
All right, well, that's that. Second last episode of the season. Hello, Facebook. Yeah, it's over this season. So next week will be the finale. It's gone by quite fast. Not devastated that it's over for now, but it's still going to be a fun finale, and we'll recap it. I don't know when. It's going to be a busy week. Survivor finale. First new Star Wars film in 10 years. I don't know when we're going to find time to fit it all in, but we'll try. So I'm looking forward to it. As for next season of Amazing Race, TBC, we'll figure out what we're doing with that. But bring back Amazing Race Canada or Amazing Race 25 repeats. Or something,
yeah, let's just re-air season 25 over YouTube Instagram edition.
We'll just bang our heads until we forget what happened in it or something. I don't know. All right, we'll do our rankings next week and catch up with Natural Born Lady Hustler next week. But I will say until then, Colin, thanks for joining and thanks for not hosting. Thanks for still sharing. I don't know. Thanks for being here.
And thank you to all our listeners on Double Oz 7 as well.
Download, I heard it's good. And Alec, thanks for being here.
No problem. I'm actually missing a white elephant gift for this, so...
You're missing a what?
It's an American team.
Alright.
Clearly, I have no idea what you're talking about either.
I think it's a boat or something like that.
It's a shuttlecock.
And
Elephant's white.
Jordan, certainly not least this week. Thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure. No, a good episode.
And we've got one more thing to do, and it's going to be a quick whip around, one word thing. Let's have some hashtags. Go, Colin.
Hashtag Real Bond Girls listen to Double Oz 7.
Hashtag Alec.
Hashtag Noah should name his first daughter Michelle.
It's happening. I thought yep. And Jordan, hashtag.
Hashtag no longer underestimated.
Yes.
I think it was a perfect way to end. That's
Tiffany
it.
and Michelle.
Subscribe, YouTube. Subscribe to Double Oz 7, Euros Vision, and Survivor Oz. Till next time, goodbye, Michelle, and goodbye, Michelle, and see you later, Michelle, and we'll speak to you next time on the plane.
Hopefully we're doing some James Bond movie scenes. So we looked up the hotel that we're going to, and supposedly there was a James Bond movie film there, so now we just have this idea in our head that we're going to be like... Dum, dum, dum. Dum, 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 dum.